You're watching my favorite YouTube channel. You know how this goes. This is about media and its role in affecting the way we think about people and how it kills them. It's that deep. It was always that deep.
This is Marcellus Williams, a man who's set to be executed in 4 days. Now, I have a problem. One of my followers just sent me this information, so I did hours of research, and I witnessed something that I've never seen before.
Ignore that. It's just Dre messaging me. Piece of shit.
Prosecutors, the people who put people in jail, came out and said, hey, he might not have done it. Can we just give him life in prison instead? They were denied. The family of the victim, he supposedly came out and said, hey, don't do it. And they were ignored. But why? Well, the answer is no one knows. But the story gets a little crazier than that. See, this isn't the first time he was supposed to be executed. Back in 2015, in the last minute, the governor of Missouri, this was in Missouri, by the way, comes out and says, stop.
Speaking of Missouri and Dre, I'm being serious. Let's keep going.
They found new evidence. He really might not have done it. So the governor makes a special council of judges to do an investigation. They said, okay, well, he might not have done it. We're making you a report, governor. The governor says, great. But the governor resigns. A new governor comes in and he says, I don't want to see the report. You guys are all done. And he's going to be executed. So they went to the Supreme Court of Missouri. And the Supreme Court of Missouri said, let's just go through with it anyway.
Ugh.
So the prosecutors came out. And they did their own investigation, and they said, wow, he really might not have done it. The trial was a mess, and I'm going to be frank here, racist. 11 white jurors and...
Pause. He stopped to tell us 11 white jurors. 11 out of 12, okay? That's significant. The judge, the people, his peers who decide whether or not he did it or not, these people happened to not look the way he looked. In Missouri, where you could definitely find people who looked the way that Marcellus looked. What's so important about looking like Marcellus Williams when you're going to court? Why is that so valuable? And why were 11 systemic... Oh, I didn't even finish. Keep going.
Might not have done it. The trial was a mess, and I'm going to be frank here, racist. 11 white jurors and 1 black juror were selected in Missouri. A black jury was rejected because his hair was kind of messy and unkempt. He didn't look trustworthy.
He didn't look trustworthy. I wanted to pause it there. Those were the actual words. That because of his hair, they found a reason to... he's not worthy of being on the jury. How few times has someone with the hair of that, whatever it looked like, that unkempt hair, how few times have they seen that? How unnormal is it for people who decide who gets to be on a jury, who doesn't? How few times in media have they seen hair from... and humanized with that hair? When they've seen that hair, they equate it with negativity. They equate it with worthlessness, little value. Their media, because these guys are all on the same planet, who expose themselves to the same high-budgeted stuff with the budget is high, but the advertising is high too, and the images that we are susceptible to seeing over and over again. We know. We've learned that the light-skinned people, under-melanated people, have better. They perform better. They do better things. They're seen in higher statuses, reasonable. There's just been a continuous push from Hollywood, which we are all exposed to, at least in the English-speaking world, but everywhere else, even if you don't speak the language, because they dub the movies. That's one thing. That's one side. And then if your skin is dark, let's recall, what are the actual popular characters who've got dark skin? You wonder why I'm so hard for recasting T'Challa, who was the pinnacle, the greatest anti-stereotype. Name a good positive trait, he was that. He could be smart, uncolonized Africa. What was wrong with this guy? And they killed him. They decided not to use him anymore. And he grossed all the money. And they decided, let's not do the money thing. If we think about all the roles where someone's got skin as dark as my boy here, ZV Universe.
He didn't look
there. This kind of skin tone right here from this guy. This kind of skin tone from right here. How few times do we see this and go, stand up individual in the lead in an expensive movie, which everyone watches. Because yes, there are black movies with $10 million budgets here, few smaller roles. But when it is a really more expensive budget, themes of slavery or themes of any sort of oppression, a lot of trauma. I just looked at Rebel Ridge. It was a $40 million budget, and the movie starts with a police interaction where he's being profiled, and they dehumanizingly rear-end his bicycle. How much times do we continually see that shit? And at what point do we go, this is affecting us? At what point do we go, that probably played a role in this specific case right here with Marcellus Williams, who's about to die 2 days from now. Maybe one day when you see this video, I'm doing it late. How many times has that just engraved themselves in the perception of people who make decisions on who gets to live and who gets put on death row, who's guilty and who's not guilty? How much times does that need to happen until we go, that's part of the problem? And we need to stick up for our media. We need to call for actual representation, not castings here and castings there. Oh, great. We all got to see Rosario Dawson be the star of the movie Haunted Mansion. There was no father in that movie. It was a really expensive movie. It was a remake of a movie where there was actually a father in it when Eddie Murphy played that role. And instead, the devaluing of the family, and hey, the skin was dark. The devaluing was there. The belittling, the consistent reminders, passively, sometimes straight up overtly, it could be the name of the title of a movie. Sometimes you don't even got to watch the movie. You just walk by a poster and you see, for example, it's in my head, Jordan Peele, Keegan-Michael Key, the Keanu, with a little, that's not positive representation. That's not a doctor. That's not what I'm looking for. And sometimes there is a good representation, but they're not the main character. There's always these ways, and enough of that has affected our juries. Jonathan Majors was part of this too. Jonathan Majors had his jury deselected. They only needed 6, and they got someone who was college educated, and they said he'd be too smart or some stupid reason to disqualify him from candidacy. What? Let me rewind like 5 seconds. Go.
Because his hair was kind of messy and unkempt. He didn't look trustworthy. And most importantly, the DNA on the weapon did not match his. So
Oh my God. The DNA didn't match him.
Prosecutors go over to his team. They said, let's talk it out. What if we just give him a plea deal, life in prison, which would give everyone time to come together and figure everything out. But in what is being called a bizarre twist, a judge rejects it. He just says no. We're going to go through with it anyway. Now, all people are asking for is time. They're not asking he walks out. They're just asking for time. And it would be one thing if his team was asking for this to be stopped, but if prosecutors, if representatives, if the victims' families are asking for a little more time, then I think it warrants that. Now, 4 days is not a long time, so where do we go from here? Well, as many people as possible needs to be aware of this, because bringing attention on an issue does a lot more than people may think. Governors, prosecutors, the Supreme Court, they all work for you. So again, in 4 days, the fate of a man is decided. So really, I just thought you should know, especially
I want to add to this also, is that there were witnesses who were, 2 of them, who were offered deals. These were informants who were given deals. They said, hey, look, if you can just say he did it, we'll lower your sentence. We'll make a more favorable outcome for you. And that's what's getting this guy. And it's known. They were bribed and they were offered. And what better way to do rid of this entire thing than to make sure that he dies? And it all comes to an end. And the corruption of Missouri or whoever it was who was trying to get this guy down and coerced witnesses to say it was all on him. What better way than to get rid of this than to kill him? This valueless, dark-skinned person who has no worth, who we've been trained to dehumanize through our hours of years of watching things on our screen. How important is it? Next time you're watching a stupid-ass show, what's that thing called on Netflix with Good Times, the animated thing? Next time that happens, don't go, oh, well, we can have this satire stuff, and, that's not wrong, nothing's wrong with that. There's no balance. There's not enough of the good stuff. Go watch My Dad, the Bounty Hunter. Go watch, I mentioned Family Reunion on Netflix when I was talking about Tia and Tamara, who are going through something right now. Go watch the positive stuff. Give it your views. Amplify those things. Stop looking for the ratchet if you can. I love stupid things. Flavor of Love. I'm not saying I don't watch these things and I don't But like, how much more Seasons of Power and Snowfall and all these other things that you witness and you contribute to and you fund and you further. Yeah, next time there's something positive, really get behind it. Really retweet it, share it, talk about how nice it is. Be a part of the solution so that could be the money-making franchises, and they become popular enough to where everyone who makes up the Missouri jury is exposed to that dark skin, that melanin thing. They're exposed to that thing and only can attribute positivity. And so it doesn't matter that 11 people were all white. You didn't need that 12th guy and one guy was rejected. But you didn't need those extra members to actually have someone who can humanize with dark skin. Our media is super important. It's that important. It's that deep. It's always been that deep. Recast T'Challa, the greatest role model that there ever has been, the most impactful positively for everyone, whether you're white or not. That character did wonders and should not discontinue. It should be that character, and not the T'Child, and not his sister or his dad. It's gotta be T'Challa, the same way we prop up Superman, and we got Superman collectively. We, the people, made that guy so huge. We made Batman so ungodly huge that there's Batman Day, and we celebrate things like that. And how Kevin Conroy can die voice acting him, and it didn't stop the character because we gotta respect him, whatever. I'll talk about more of that tomorrow in the morning with Dre, that whack-ass YouTuber Dre. Look out for the live stream. I think 10 a.m. Eastern, maybe 11 a.m. Eastern. I don't remember. And K.Dot too. And then Darius might come too from Planet Fanatics. Here's the link. It's right up there. Media matters so importantly. It's so significant.